You want the clear-cut, no BS 1440p RX 470 benchmarks. I want as little film to edit as possible, just being honest here. I purchased this XFX RX 470 from Best Buy last week for $160 US, killer price for sneaky performance. It's often been advertised as the 1080p sweet spot graphics card, but if we make a few compromises that I personally believe are worth making, the RX 470 can be an entry-level 1440p gaming card as well. The test bench, an i7 5820K at 4.6 GHz on an X99 Tai from ASRock and 32GB of Trident Z DDR4 from G-Skill. Huge shout out, by the way, to Thermaltake for this epic setup. More on that in a separate video. The RX 470 here will be running its stock out of the box. Additional overclocking headroom is minimal anyway. The card will also be sporting the latest Crimson Relive drivers available on AMD's website. Are you ready? Here we go. Let's jump right in with GTA 5 first. While maintaining a high graphics preset, that's everything under the graphics tab set to high that can possibly be set to high, with the exception of both anti-aliasing and ambient occlusion, boom, 62 FPS on average, 40 on the low end. Frame times were also very consistent and flat, a few tiny spikes here and there thanks to a slight GPU bottleneck, but overall acceptable scores. Something else I do want to mention, swapping the 5820K for either a 67 or 6600K, or their Kaby Lake counterparts, with an identical frequency will yield very similar frame rates. Next up, Witcher 3. Very GPU intensive, and this chart shows it. I didn't want to chop into graphical settings any more than I did at this point. Just comes down to personal preference, so I settled at 56 FPS for the average. Even so, 37 is still a decent minimum. What we don't want to see is something like 20 or 30 on the low end, which would indicate a stark contrast in compute potential for the specific game, aka a severe bottleneck in street terms. Battlefield 1, to my surprise, tolerated the mid-range Polaris GPU. In this case, the 5820K's 12 threads, all 12 of them, are working very hard, as is the graphics card, but this is a good thing. It indicates beautiful optimization. Over 60 FPS on average with infrequent dips to the mid-40s. I thoroughly enjoy playing this game, not because I'm good, because I'm most definitely not, but because it's always smooth, no matter what I do to the PC in question. I even downclocked this exact CPU to 1.2 GHz and enjoyed my experience. More on that in a video right here. Now let's move on to a very CPU intensive title, my favorite, City Skylines. In this instance, frame rates were as expected. If 22 seems low, that's because it is. It's completely normal though. Replacing the RX 470 here with a GTX 1070 changes literally nothing, which means that our CPU is calling the shots. See this video here for more details. I love benchmarking this game because it utilizes resources in unique ways. Let's end on another good note. How about a racing game this time around? Forza 6 Apex. Chances are if your computer can run Windows 10, it can run Forza 6, but in-game graphics are still top-notch, and in the high settings preset burning rubber around the wet Top Gear test track, 67 FPS on average, 51 for the minimum. Very narrow range, which is exactly what we want to see. Keep in mind that these benchmarks were in 1440p, all of these benchmarks. Had they been in 1080p, all of these settings could have been bumped into the ultra territory with similar FPS. So that's that, the clear-cut, no BS cookie-cutter benchmarking run of the AMD RX 470. If you appreciate this quick and dirty style format video, give this one a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down if you feel the complete opposite or if you hate everything about life. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next video. This is Salazar Studio. Thanks for learning with us.